Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a like up. Which episode of Star Trek? The original series comes first. Conversation is a tricky topic. The Man Trap was the series premiere, airing in the US on September 8, 1966. But Where No Man Has Gone Before was the first episode of Season 1 actually produced. Before that, The Cage served as Star Trek's initial pilot, albeit with a largely different cast. At a glance, it's clear why NBC picked The Man Trap as the episode that would introduce America to Star Trek. Captain Kirk beams a team down to an alien planet, encounters an extraterrestrial threat picking off his crew members, and they eventually find a way to shoot it. Not only was The Man Trap relatively familiar territory as a piece of science fiction, the core format broadly represented what audiences could expect from Star Trek most weeks. The shallowness of the plot is particularly surprising, as Star Trek typically stood out from its sci-fi contemporaries thanks to a keen intellectual spark. The kind of spark that turned other killer alien on a strange planet stories like The Devil in the Dark and Arena into bona fide classics. The Man Trap offers little beyond the obvious, a shape-shifting monster killing people for salt. That may be due to writer George Clayton Johnson's early 60s work on The Twilight Zone. Like The Twilight Zone, The Man Trap deals more in horror trademarks like suspense and mystery than Star Trek trademarks like morality and philosophy. As a consequence, the episode's moody soundtrack follows the wrong tone. It's a wildly uneven script too. On one hand, you can praise The Man Trap for its fun interactions between Kirk and McCoy, which immediately create the impression of long-serving colleagues that have become close friends. At the same time, the exposition is regularly clunky, such as Spock's. We get a reading on only one person, probably Crater. He's circling as if searching for something. That's a lot of convenient assumptions for a Vulcan. The Man Trap also delivers some absolute clangers with its dialogue. Kirk telling McCoy, "Stop thinking with your glands," is a bit rich coming from him, and Spock repeats almost exactly the same line twice in a row at one point. It's killing the captain. Shoot it, doctor, quickly. Spock's proposal to force truth serum on a civilian feels even more out of place than his yelling. Surely more a Romulan tactic than something Starfleet should entertain. Yet entertain it they do. Considering The Man Trap was Star Trek's first episode, McCoy gets a rough deal. Despite plenty of screen time, his refusal to see the dark truth behind Nancy until she physically transforms into a vampiric salt monster makes the Enterprise's chief medical officer look like a bit of an idiot if you're watching with no established reference point for what McCoy's character should be. Even Star Trek, the original series' cast, weren't fans of their own first outing. Leonard Nimoy singled The Man Trap out as the weakest of the first batch filmed for Season 1 in Leonard Nimoy, Star Trek Memories, while William Shatner went further, calling it dreadful in his memoirs. The Man Trap may sit on the less impressive end of the Star Trek spectrum, and it's certainly an uninspired choice as an opener, but the Enterprise's maiden voyage is not entirely without merit. The real redeeming feature of The Man Trap is how it showcases the main crew members. Kirk provides a charismatic and compelling central figure, and his determination to get justice for an ever-increasing pile of dead crew members is the only reason the story has any weight. The botany-based exchange between Sulu and Rand carries little relevance to the main plot, but goes a long way toward making the Enterprise feel like a home and its crew feel like a family. Other small interactions, like the one between Uhura and Spock in the opening minutes, are similarly worthwhile and almost make The Man Trap look like a sensible choice for Episode 1 in terms of establishing character. It wouldn't be unreasonable to have low expectations for visual effects in Star Trek Episode 1. But Nancy's true form is surprisingly effective. It's the kind of horrifying visage that would burn itself into a child's mind, not unlike the fake Balak from The Corbomite Maneuver. At the same time, it's a costume that forces the viewer to see an intelligent creature rather than a simple beast. The script tries, but it's the creature's design that sells it. The Man Trap isn't a bad episode of Star Trek, and likely wouldn't be on anyone's radar had it aired mid-season. By virtue of starting a multi-decade franchise, however, The Man Trap gets more attention than it really warrants, leaving its flaws exposed in a way other unspectacular installments never had to worry about. There's a certain reverence that surrounds the Star Trek franchise, a cultural gravity that makes fans instinctively defend every starship corridor and every stilted monologue like sacred text. But every now and then, even the most loyal Trekkie must take a deep breath, step outside the warp bubble of nostalgia, and admit a small but undeniable truth. Star Trek's first episode is painfully average. Not terrible, not unwatchable, not without charm, just aggressively, stubbornly, unimpressively fine. And yet, this averageness might be exactly why it worked. When viewers in the 1960s turned on their television sets and tuned into the pilot, they weren't expecting a groundbreaking sci-fi epic that would echo across the next 6 decades. They were expecting an hour of entertainment, monsters, mysteries, and maybe a moral at the end. What they got was something halfway between a thoughtful philosophical puzzle and a stiff, hesitant presentation of a universe still figuring itself out. It's like watching the first awkward rehearsal of a play that would eventually become a worldwide phenomenon. The episode unfolds with a sense of restraint, like the show itself wasn't sure yet what it wanted to be. The pacing ambles forward, the world building feels roughly sketched, and the characters seem like prototypes waiting for factory improvements. It has the bones of something innovative, but the flesh is still forming. Even the lighting feels unsure of itself. Half pulp novel shadow, half earnest space drama spotlight. A stark contrast compared to what Star Trek would become. But let's dig into exactly why this first episode lands squarely in the middle of the quality spectrum. To appreciate the mediocrity is to appreciate the strange alchemy that later produced brilliance. The story is solid, but safe. The pilot episode presents a classic science fiction premise. A crew exploring a mysterious world, encountering illusions, manipulation, and emotional tests designed to probe a captain's psychology. This isn't bad storytelling by any means, it's just familiar. Even for 1960s sci-fi, it lacked the spark of boldly going anywhere new. The emotional core is an interesting idea, but the execution feels hesitant. Characters speak less like humans and more like they're reciting lines off cue cards printed on the Enterprise's bulkheads. Dialogue lands with the stiffness of an early rehearsal, and the episode never fully earns the emotional weight it attempts to deliver. It feels like the show is trying out ideas with the caution of someone dipping their toe into a cold swimming pool. The characters haven't become themselves yet, let's be brutally honest. No matter how much fans adore the cast that would eventually define Star Trek, the characters of that first outing are the equivalent of cardboard stand-ins. They look like characters. They sound like characters, but they aren't alive yet. Captains haven't stepped into their iconic confidence. Science officers haven't found their rhythm, emotional range, or defining quirks. Side characters fade in and out like background holograms, filling space without leaving impressions. It's clear the actors were still discovering who they were supposed to be in this dramatic new universe. And that's perfectly normal. Every show has growing pains. But when you look back with the hindsight of 60 years of Trek brilliance, the layered performances, the deeply realized characters, the unforgettable ensembles, the pilot seems like a rough sketch beside a masterpiece. The tone is all over the quadrant. Is it a cerebral mystery? A moody sci-fi drama? A psychological character study? A philosophical meditation on captivity and freedom? The episode tries to be all of these things, but doesn't yet know how to blend them into a cohesive voice. That distinctive Star Trek mixture, heart, hope, exploration, philosophical depth, humor, and grand adventure, simply wasn't there yet. Instead, the pilot gives us tonal whiplash. One moment is ponderous and brooding. The next swings into melodrama. The next pauses awkwardly for exposition. The next attempts tension without truly tightening the emotional screws. It's like everyone involved had the ingredients, but hadn't yet discovered the recipe. For the production shows it seems, Star Trek is legendary for doing a lot with a little. But in the first episode, you can really see the little. Sets wobble. Makeup runs from creative to Halloween party. Costumes hover between futuristic chic and thrift store minimalism. The alien landscapes often look like someone spilled sand on a soundstage floor and called it a planet. Even fans who cherish the retro aesthetic can admit, this first episode looks like a show waiting for its real budget. And still, even with these constraints, there's something charming about it. Its ambition is far bigger than its resources, and you can feel the production team stretching every dollar to imagine a universe no one had ever seen before. 5. It's missing the soul that would define Star Trek. Perhaps the greatest reason the first episode feels painfully average is the simplest. It hasn't yet found the beating heart that would make Star Trek immortal. The optimism is muted. The sense of adventure is tentative. The moral clarity is fuzzy. The philosophy is embryonic. The franchise would eventually soar because it embraced a hopeful future, a celebration of curiosity, a belief in diplomacy, discovery, diversity, and the triumph of principle over violence. But in the beginning, that spirit is still only a flicker, visible, but not yet fully awake. But maybe that's what makes its averageness beautiful. Because here's the twist. The average quality of the first episode is not a flaw, it's a miracle. It proves that greatness doesn't always announce itself immediately. Sometimes the first steps are clumsy. Sometimes the seed looks unimpressive before it becomes the forest. That first episode is the earliest heartbeat of a franchise that would influence generations, inspire scientists, reshape science fiction, redefine television, and create one of the most enduring universes ever imagined. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and stay with us.